Another guard on duty, that's what most saw. The gate was always where commanders placed the rookies. One officer even smirked as he passed. She stood silently in uniform, checking IDs under the desert sun, as if invisible. To the majority, she was just a junior posted where nothing important ever happened. But when a black SUV rolled up and a Navy SEAL commander stepped out, the atmosphere shifted. He didn't breeze through, didn't ignore her. He stopped, turned, and saluted first. The entire base froze in silence. Respect like that can't be faked. Forward Operating Base Titan sprawled across the Afghan desert, its main checkpoint manned by whoever leadership considered expendable. Staff Sergeant Maria Santos had been stationed there 6 weeks, checking IDs under relentless heat while others carried out the real missions. Everyone knew gate duty was punishment, a place for soldiers leadership hadn't figured out what to do with. Santos held her post at Entry Control Point Alpha in full battle dress, her movements exact even as those around her dismissed the position. At 0930, Lieutenant Colonel James Patterson returned from a meeting, irritation obvious in his stride. When Santos gave him a crisp salute, his response was perfunctory, barely acknowledging her. To his aide, Captain Torres, he muttered loud enough for her to hear, "Command always sticks the new ones here. No combat time, just going through motions." Still, Santos inspected his ID with the same precise attention she gave everyone, checking photos, dates, and features by the book. Patterson and others treated her like furniture. That disregard extended beyond the gate. Meals alone, briefings in silence, her bunk set apart. Other soldiers gave her only the minimum courtesy required. Her quiet demeanor was chalked up to inexperience. But details told another story. Her constant situational awareness during routine tasks. The way she handled weapons in training, flawless. Her posture carried unconscious authority, more command than subordination. Her record was deliberately vague. Prior assignments listed generically, duty stations coded only with numbers. Nothing revealed the nature of her past work. Her clearance level alone suggested someone of unusual importance, though most on base weren't authorized to know why. Through long checkpoint shifts, she observed the rhythms of the base with the eye of an intelligence officer who arrived off schedule, which vehicles skipped protocols, which personnel operated outside normal patterns. She never spoke of it, never filed unnecessary reports, protecting operational security with silence. By noon, the Afghan sun burned past triple digits, heat waves rippling off concrete barriers. Still she stood steady, every ID checked, every log precise. Conversations flowed around her as if she wasn't there. Deployments, promotions, strategies, all assuming she was temporary irrelevant. Yet she noticed what others didn't. Forged passes, irregular arrivals. Her salute never faltered. Her boots stayed polished against the ever-present dust. The gate was her silent realm. Competence was her currency, even without recognition. Helicopters lifted off in the distance for missions she wasn't briefed on, but her eyes tracked them with an understanding beyond her supposed role. That Tuesday afternoon, the gravel crunch of heavy tires broke the monotony. A black Chevrolet Suburban rolled toward the checkpoint, tinted windows and government plates signaling classified business. No radio call had warned of its arrival. No authorization logged. It moved with the confidence of people who expected instant clearance. Santos stepped forward, M4 at low ready, following procedure for unscheduled entries. Her movements balanced vigilance with restraint, the mark of someone who knew the stakes. The driver, an Army captain with special operations insignia, handed over ID. She examined it with her usual meticulous care. Then the rear door opened. The air itself seemed to shift. Out stepped Commander David Hawk McKenzie of the Navy SEALs, his presence commanding silence before he spoke. Dressed immaculately in blues despite the desert dust, he carried decades of unspoken history in every measured movement, stories of missions that prevented catastrophes, rescues that would never reach public record. His reputation arrived before he did, and the gate, for once, was no longer overlooked. Protocol was clear. Santos was expected to snap to attention, offer a crisp salute, check credentials swiftly, and wave the commander through with the deference reserved for someone of Mackenzie's stature. That's how it was supposed to go. Instead, something happened that would echo across military circles for years. Mackenzie stopped. Not a pause, not a hesitation. He halted completely. His gaze locked on the staff sergeant at the checkpoint. Recognition flashed in his eyes, the kind that spoke of shared history, of mutual respect deeper than the insignia sewn on their uniforms. Around them, soldiers began to notice the break in routine. Routine chatter fell quiet as heads turned toward the unusual scene. Mackenzie raised his hand to his temple, delivering a salute sharper than regulation required, one given not down the chain of command but across it, from one warrior to another. It was unmistakable, an acknowledgement that bypassed rank and hierarchy, rooted instead in something earned long before this day. The silence that followed pressed down like desert heat. Conversations across 50 meters ceased. Routine movements froze. Everyone present knew they had witnessed something extraordinary, even if they couldn't yet grasp its meaning. Santos returned the salute with equal precision, her bearing unchanged yet suddenly transformed in the eyes of every onlooker. The professionalism she had shown at the gate for 6 weeks revealed itself now as something greater than routine discipline. No words passed between them, but none were needed. Mackenzie gave a single nod, an unspoken exchange of equals, and then continued through the checkpoint with his aide. Santos resumed her duties as if nothing unusual had occurred. But everyone who saw it knew everything had changed. The rookie they had dismissed was no rookie at all. Respect cannot be demanded. It must already have been earned, often in silence, long before anyone is watching. Within hours, word of the salute spread through FOB Titan like wildfire. Mess halls buzzed, comms lit up. Soldiers replayed the scene in speculation and disbelief. Why would a Navy SEAL commander salute a staff sergeant first? Sergeant Johnson, stationed in base ops, pulled Santos's personnel file. He brought the findings to Colonel Hayes in a hastily called secure briefing. The records don't make sense, Johnson explained. Routine assignments, basic infantry notations, but nothing that explains this. Hayes authorized a deeper dig, one requiring rare levels of clearance. The further they searched, the stranger the gaps became. Officially, Santos had been attached to Joint Special Operations Command for a year and a half. Beyond that, details vanished into classification barriers few on base could breach. A line item tied her name to Operation Neptune Trident, a counterterrorism mission credited with averting a major attack on U.S. soil, but every substantive record was sealed, accessible only with presidential authority. Santos wasn't on gate duty because she had been sidelined. She was there because that was the mission. Her post was cover for counterintelligence work, tracking anomalies in base traffic, identifying forged credentials, monitoring personnel movements. What looked like punishment detail was, in fact, a frontline position in safeguarding the installation itself. Mackenzie's salute hadn't been courtesy. It was recognition of a partner in operations no one else would ever hear about, of a professional who had stood shoulder to shoulder with him in moments carved permanently into classified history. The revelation reframed more than Santos herself. Gate duty, long dismissed as military exile, suddenly looked different. Soldiers began to see it as a position demanding judgment, vigilance, and unshakable professionalism. For Lieutenant Colonel Patterson, who had once muttered about rookies and irrelevance, the memory of Santos's salute now carried a sting. He had witnessed competence, even excellence, and failed to recognize it. What had once been dismissed as a mark of her inexperience now reflected Patterson's own short-sightedness. The social order on base shifted almost overnight. Soldiers who had ignored Santos began approaching her with the respect owed to a professional whose competence had been validated in the clearest way possible. Where she had once eaten alone, she now received invitations to join conversations. What had once been dreaded punishment duty soon became a coveted assignment, with seasoned NCOs volunteering for checkpoint rotations, eager to play a role in the installation's security operations. The perception of gate duty changed. No longer dismissed as busy work, it was now understood as a critical counterintelligence function requiring judgment, vigilance, and skill. Yet Santos herself never altered her demeanor. She accepted recognition without explanation, acknowledged respect without revealing the classified background that justified it. Her silence remained unbroken. Her authority was anchored not in words, but in her record of unshakable professionalism. The story of that salute spread far beyond Phobie Titan. Retold through informal channels linking distant outposts, it grew into military folklore. Details varied, but the heart of it remained. Respect had been rendered where it was deserved, not where protocol dictated. The salute became part of the base's collective memory, taught to new arrivals as an object lesson, that respect is earned through performance, not rank, that the most vital work often looks routine to the untrained eye. Officers who had once dismissed Santos now sought her counsel on security and threat assessment. Her reputation, once invisible, now carried weight. But recognition came at a cost. Questions began trickling down for higher headquarters about why a SEAL commander had gone out of his way to honor a staff sergeant. Colonel Hayes fielded the inquiries, but classification walls kept answers hidden. Within 6 weeks of Mackenzie's visit, transfer orders came. Santos left FOB Titan as she had served there, quietly. No farewell ceremony, no public recognition. Only a secure briefing attended by those with clearance to understand even part of her mission. Her assignment was listed in directories that didn't officially exist, her presence on the base filed away, as though it had never happened. The gate remained, but it was not the same. Under her watch, checkpoint duty had been recast into something far greater than punishment detail. It became a position of trust, filled by personnel whose records hinted at expertise beyond what could be discussed openly. Her replacement arrived with credentials that suggested the same kind of hidden background, another silent professional hidden in plain sight. The legend only grew. For those who had been there, Mackenzie's salute remained a reminder that bonds of service transcend formal rank, that competence can be honored without ever being explained, that the quietest duties sometimes conceal the most vital responsibilities. The checkpoint stood as a symbol, not of drudgery, but of hidden service and earned respect. New soldiers assigned there no longer saw it as exile. They understood they were inheriting a responsibility whose weight exceeded its appearance, upholding a standard set by someone who had carried it with unshakable discipline. The Sentinel had moved on, but her legacy endured in the way the base now understood service, that some of the most powerful stories are never told loudly, but live on in silence, respect, and the memory of a single salute.